Hello and welcome back to Blue Crescent Tarot. My name is Deanne and today's video is a tag and a VR to Simon at the Hermit's Cave. So this one is called hashtag my SoulDeck, and this is sort of a revisiting of this tag, much like my first video, but this probably is going to be a more community-wide revisiting, as Simon was talking about this today on his live chat. So when I first started watching tarot videos on YouTube, one of the very first decks I had come across, a review, a flip through, was on Imogen Walter's channel, and she is not creating content currently. I think it's been maybe a year or something like that. Last time I checked, her videos were still up. That was her plan. So again, I haven't checked in there in a while, but I will look and I will link her video of this deck that I'm going to mention. And I will also link information for Simon's channel, because my tarot soul deck is one that I learned from watching his channel, and I don't think I've seen anything else about it since then. So might be kind of rare in the sense that I don't see a lot of people showing it or talking about it, but I do think it's still available. I get an email every so often from the creator. So anyway, let me go ahead and get started with my first one. So I have a Soul Oracle deck and a Soul Tarot deck. I don't know if that's breaking the rules, but seems like, you know, people are talking about, you know, poly tarot, and that we can have more than one, and maybe those things change as we evolve and our practice evolves and everything like that. So I will say though, that my Soul Oracle deck is Work Your Light Oracle. I'll hold it up here. This is a Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel deck, of which there are several. When I saw this on Imogen's channel, I was, again, very new to even watching, listening to tarot videos, and I was just really taken back by it. And it was a lot of little things. I think it was fall 2018. When was this even made? Would that make sense? I think so. It must have been. So earlier that day, I had watched a video at the Hermit's Cave, and he was talking about a certain deck. He was flipping through and talking about the pinks and the purples in the deck, and I thought, wow, that is really pretty. And it was just strange because the pink thing just kind of kept coming up everywhere I looked or a video I watched, and I'm not always a pink person, but during that time I felt really drawn to that color. When I was meditating, I would see pink a lot. And then there I was watching Simon, who at the time, I think I was just really watching Simon's channel and two others. And then I'm like, gosh, there's Simon talking about pink again. So it was just this kind of, it just kept popping up everywhere. And so I don't know if that's what first kind of drew me in to the to this deck, but that all went into this being my soul deck, because it just, at the time, it struck me. So even when she held up the back of the card and showed this, I just felt so moved by it, really. And I was kind of surprised, because I just didn't really have that experience before. At the time, I had maybe 10 or 15 decks. I don't really remember. And one that I really love is the Wild Unknown, and it was high quality and beautiful. And so I'd had that experience before, but I don't know, just something about the pink. And even when I was seeing it the first time, I thought, it's so strange that I'm being so drawn in by this. So anyway, really pretty backs. And I guess what I should clarify is that more so than this being my soul deck, there's one in particular card that I call my soul card, and it is part of this deck, so I call this my Soul Oracle deck. So there's kind of, you know, that little caveat in there. I'm not really sure how much that counts. I do love this deck and work with it a lot. It was my Oracle deck for February this year. So of course I did not get this ready, but I'm gonna flip through real quick and see if I can find, here I'll just show you this as something to look at while we're flipping through here. So when she held up, and I love this Starseed card as well, it's sort of cosmic, looking out over an ocean, really beautiful. So several of these cards spoke to me, quote unquote, when she was showing the deck, and when a certain card came up, it made me cry. It was crazy, and I just I thought, oh, that's where I come from. And I had long felt, you know, like a starseed, like I'm really into the cosmic spacey vibe. That kind of thing feels like home to me. When I have dreams about going home, that's the kind of imagery that comes up. And so when she showed this card, I'm pulling out a couple others here too, it just really really spoke to me. So I apologize, I should have gotten these ready, but it's just part of the deal around here that we just have to, I'm new to all this, but we just record whenever there's a brief opportunity to do that. So I just grabbed this and ran in to my tarot room. Of course, do you think it's going to be the last one? Let me find it. Okay, are you kidding? Okay, I'm going to pull these out. Age of Light. I'll start with there. Unless I missed it while I was talking, and I'm not going to edit because we don't have time to do that around here either. Sorry, everyone. But this is going to be a quick video anyway. Keepers of the Earth, the Awakening. If I already pulled it out because it was one of the others that I put aside, I'm going to be irritated with myself, but maybe that's what happened. Share your voice. Now I'm wondering if I had the wrong card in mind. I mean, I know it's this deck. They're both right here. Maybe that's what happened because they're similar images. Oh, deep replenishment. Look, this looks like my past life dreams. And that's another thing. A lot of these images for me were kind of calling up those kinds of things that were happening in my meditations, and so I knew it was for me. Okay, so I had already pulled it out. So here I want to say, now of course I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was either this protection card. I'm sorry, the Great Gathering is what that says. Obviously you can read that. The Great Gathering or protection. It was one of those with the figures standing around in a circle, or with these kinds of either cloaks or dresses. It was one of these. And so when I saw that, I got all teary-eyed and I thought, wow, that's where I come from. You know, it was that sort of thing. So this, because of these types of cards, these two in particular, and again, I can't remember which one it was exactly that brought me to tears the first time, that really spoke to me. And this one is similar to the Council of Light, with the figures standing around in a circle. And so it's that kind of thing that was really drawing me in. other reasons I knew I had to have this was because Akasha was mentioned, and that's something I've worked with for a long time in my practice, and so just that sort of thing was speaking to me. The Pleiades, different starseed origins were present in the deck, and for me at the time, I hadn't seen that before because I was new into, you know, I would just go to the bookstore and see what was on the shelf, so I didn't have all these. I didn't know there were a bunch of starseed or cosmic driven decks, or I didn't know there were a bunch of earthy decks. You know, I just didn't know everything that was out there. And also Mintonka starseed, just things that were present in my practice that I had seen represented in this way before in cards, and so that was very exciting. One other card that I had to pull out here was Dance with Life, because this has a very earthy vibe, right? This is sort of a quote-unquote a real world grounded sort of thing that we can relate to, and for me, I could relate to that especially well because I am a professional dancer. I was a professional dancer. I would say I still am. I've been on a little hiatus the past couple years, but I used to dance with a professional modern company in my area. And I also have participated in lots of different genres of dance throughout the years, and it was always a huge part of my life. It was supposed to kind of pick back up here this spring 2020, but as we all know, a bunch of craziness kicked off, so that is on hold for now. But so that was cool too, to have a dancer card in here. So there's my long ramble about Work Your Light Oracle. Comes with a nice little guidebook if you're interested in this kind of thing. It's really this is really a beautiful deck, and again, for me, it just all kind of swirled together in this weird, why am I so drawn to pink right now? And then seeing this deck, and it just kept reappearing, and then I was led to those, either the Great Gathering or the Protection card. I think it was the Great Gathering card, now that I'm stopping to think about it more. So that's my Soul Oracle deck. And my Soul Tarot deck, I had to look it up. I couldn't remember exactly the name of it, if it was Talk to the Moon or Talking to the Moon. On the Etsy site, it says Talking to the Moon Tarot. It maybe has been, let me grab this. It maybe has been called both. I'm not quite certain. So I saw this deck on Simon's channel, again, at the Hermit's Cave, and I will link that in the description box below for this video. I believe this is still available on Etsy. I pulled up my order history. And so this was the creator, let's see, shipped from Ukraine. And again, it is called Talking to the Moon. And there's a PDF file with card interpretation for each card. And it's really kind of interesting because it gives like the yes or no implication of it. It gives, I'm trying to open it here. It gives yes and no interpretations. It gives a full description of it as well as a meaning. So it's sort of it's a different type of deck. It follows RWS in a sense. I think if you've been into tarot for a while, you'd be able to recognize them, I think, without the titles. But it is a little different. And what I can't find, so there's a whole page. The High Priestess meaning, past, present, future, yes, no, key interpretation. So for each one, I'm just going to try to expand this a little bit. So here's how much info you get in the PDF per card. And I believe this is the same for the minors. That same amount. Let me just scroll down real quick and check. This is my Soul Tarot deck without having used this PDF before. I just pulled it up today so I could give you a little bit of information about it. Oh goodness, okay. The Suit of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles meaning. So yeah, that same amount of information is given for the minors as well, or thereabouts. What I can't find is the description of the red ribbon or the red sash that is across many of the faces, and I need to pull that up. I will try to find Simon's video about that as well, or I think that's what I said I was going to link here. Goodness. He read something about the meaning of that, and so when he read that, I had this sort of compulsion toward the deck. You know what I mean? I thought, oh yeah, that's the thing, that's it, that's the essence of this. And so for that reason, and because visually this is just amazing, and so the images really struck me. And then when Simon read that bit about the face coverings in a lot of these cards, that really kind of drove it home for me. So these, I edged these in black with chisel tip Sharpie, so it does not come like this, comes unedged, but I will say the cardstock is really nice. Not super thick, but you'll see also that the cards are a little taller than a regular, you know, standard RWS. Also, don't mind my blue nails, it's just dye from my hair the other day. So this is just so amazing. So I just happened to flip open to the Fool here. So here is this. So this card in particular, I feel is a little darker. I mean, they're all have that sort of dark vibe because of the black borders and the other intricacies. So there's all this kind of crazy border going on, but it doesn't take away for me. It just really fits with this. So really the images are sort of small given like the narrow card size and the border that goes around, but I just really, that doesn't take away anything for me. So there's sacred geometry in this. So we have the Fool, we kind of have, you know, this little girl following the butterfly out of the darkness, right? It goes into the light. So I think part of the reason it has a dark vibe to me too is that it reminds me of the cover of the Korn album. Is it called Follow the Leader? With the little girl on it with the hopscotch going off the cliff. It kind of reminds me of that, so that may be where that kind of darker implication is coming from. But that being said, I think this is a really balanced, in terms of light and dark, a really balanced deck. Let me find another one here. 10 Pentacles. We have an owl here in the tree with the different jewels and pentacles around. So it's not, you know, I wouldn't just call it a dark deck, but it's very, it's sort of reminiscent of this sort of haunted kind of feeling. But then there's light in some of these too. We have 7 swords, and we have a kind of lighter color use and some sacred geometry happening there. And again, this is very full just on its own. Again, I've not used the PDF before. I plan to, but I've had this since October of 2019, and I've used it a ton and haven't ever looked up the PDF until today. I knew one existed, and I thought that bit about the red face covering was in there, and it may be, but I didn't see an intro or anything, and I thought Simon was reading from an intro, but again, I'm going to go back in his video and find that for you as well. So 2 swords, traditional, but doesn't have a figure associated with it. And then the Hanged Man. Here's a good example of that, the red face covering. So I don't actually even remember exactly what it was about, but it was reminiscent of, again, things that I had already used in my practice that I just had not articulated. And so it's about, you know, our physical eyes being covered so that we can see intuitively, so that we can see with our third eye. And the Hanged Man, that's part of this card, right? Seeing something from a different view, or kind of tapping out enough so that we can have a better picture, right? If we're too involved, we may not be seeing clearly because we're too close to the thing, or we're too emotionally invested in the thing and we're reacting instead of responding, right? That whole idea. So there's a really eloquent explanation and reasoning for the red ribbons over the face. And if I'm recalling, it has something to do with that, but I do think it was a multifaceted reason that those are used. So here's 8 Pentacles for another example of the minors. Just really beautiful. Again, cardstock is really nice. I'm not sure what I would compare it to. It's a matte finish. It's not slippery. It's not sticky. Kind of an in-between thickness. Not too thin, not too thick, but feels durable. You know, again, and I've used it a lot. So then we have the 2 wands here. This is so cool. In the cave, little waterfall, thinking about going out through that, right? You still get that feeling, but this is not like the traditional RWS, of course. Ace of Wands reminds me a little of Harry Potter because of the wand type that they use. And again, that type of sacred geometry kind of shows up throughout. And here's the Magician, very different, but all the suits are represented in sort of 4 hands or 4 arms. Really, really beautiful. So, this is one I remember Simon showed, Princess of Pentacles, the dress hanging in the tree and the wine glasses spilled on the floor. That's just perfect for Princess Pentacles. So I think that is all that I will say about this, unless I see something really, another one I should share with you. Let's see, maybe Strength. People love the Strength card, right? So here we have this sort of a gentler version than maybe the traditional, and again has a really nice close-up of the red ribbon, the face covering on that. So this sort of non-traditional, little bit darker, but really I feel very balanced sort of deck in terms of light and dark. I love the darker aesthetic of it, but that balance is really there. Love this Talking to the Moon Tarot. This would be my soul deck. If that changes in a year, maybe I will do an update of this. I think this tag has lots of life left in it, right? My soul deck, that could be a great first video for people just starting up like myself, or one that we revisit on occasion to see if those things have changed. But today, May 18th, 2020, I will say that Talking to the Tarot, and here's the backs, Talking to the Tarot, that's what we do, right? Talking to the Moon Tarot by Mirra, M-I-R-R-A. Her Etsy shop is called TarotAroma. I will link all of this in the description. And Work Your Light Oracle by Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel. This would be my soul oracle. Those are my picks for today. I hope that you also participate in this tag, and be sure to check out either Simon's live video today that kind of mentions the resurgence of this tag, or his original, My Soul Deck, and all kinds of videos come up. I remember watching a lot of those the first time around, so be sure to check those out. If you like what you saw here today, please subscribe. This, again, I think is my 3rd video, so have a couple for you to catch up on. Another one of Simon's tags, which was My First Tarot, and a tag that Sandra at the Whispering Well had created was my 2nd video, Lockdown Helpers. So really fun things to kind of get you started if you are thinking about creating videos. I know there's kind of a big group of people on the fence right now, and a lot of us who also too have just started channels. So anyway, done rambling. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit, and I hope to be back with another video for you soon. Love to you all.